I'm gonna have an attitude with this one because people come at it with an attitude. So it's that mirroring a little bit. I turned out just fine. I did all these things, drank out of a hose, used bug spray, ate Fruit Loops, whatever, and I turned out just fine. I gave all this to my kids and they turned out just fine. I'm sorry, just fine is not okay with me. And maybe it's okay with you, but it's not okay with me because I'm dealing with just fine. And I don't want my kids to deal with just fine. I want them to have glowing, amazing, radiant health. And people look at them and go, wow, I wish I had that energy. I wish I was that healthy. Not, they're just fine. They're just average. They're dealing with everything we're dealing with, so it's normal. What I'm dealing with health-wise, my grandmother didn't deal with until she was in her mid-90s. Doesn't sound like just fine. When my own father tells me everything started going downhill, my body started falling apart at age 40, that doesn't sound like just fine. That sounds like the body breaking down well before it should have. Because you go back in time, and unless somebody was worked to death or malnourished, they didn't have these problems. Look at all the sickness and the symptoms that we're dealing with, and we say we're just fine. Even if you compare products to what they were when I was a kid to what they are now, you think you're giving your kids the same things just because it's the same brand? Compare the ingredients. They're not the same at all. So if you did it as a kid, does not mean you're doing exactly the same for your kids anymore. Take a look. Be educated on these things. So no, just fine is not okay with me. It never has been. It never will be. Just fine for me would be like most of the other moms, dealing with chronic fatigue. And that being my new normal for the rest of my life. There's no known cause. There's no known cure. You're just going to have to deal with it. Sorry. No, I refuse. So I pulled myself out of that when people told me that there was no way to do so. Yes, there is. The information's just censored. The answer is always out there. And because we live in a turned out just fine society, all of us are walking such a small line. And at any moment, we're going to tip over into a health crisis. We all are desperately needing intervention right now before that happens. I knew it before it happened, but I didn't do what was required to put myself far away from that edge. We all know deep down inside what we should do. We all know we should do better. And sometimes that comes in little steps. We take what we can manage at the time, and that's good. That's the path we should be on. And other times, it's a complete 180. We need help right now. I had to search a long time to get the answers that I needed. I don't want you or anyone else you know to have to go through that struggle. But we all have to be ready for change. We all know that we get into a comfort zone. We want to be with the status quo. We want to fit in. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be seen as weird. But at some point, things get very uncomfortable in our comfort zone. And then we have to ask ourselves, okay, am I going to stick with this and just say this is how it is? And since all my neighbors and my friends and my family are dealing with these things, it's normal and I'll just settle in and do whatever everybody else is? Or are you going to say, no, this sucks. I don't want to be like this. I don't like feeling this way. It's hard to remember when I didn't feel this way, but I know at one point things were better. And I want things to be good again. I want to have radiant, glowing health. I want to be bouncing because I have so much extra energy. That's not unreasonable to ask for, and people think that it is, unless you're a toddler. It's not unreasonable whatsoever. If you're ready to change, if you're ready to not be just fine anymore, reach out to me. be happy to talk to you. Do a free 15-minute call and we'll go from there.